Now more than ever, climate change, the environment and sustainability are really important. 75% of people in many regions thought that the main contributor was road vehicles. Now this included cars, vans, buses and motorbikes. Now this pattern is actually reflected in the southwest as well, so areas like Bristol, Bath. In the southwest, more than 5 times the amount of people have 1 or 2 cars rather than people having none. Now this shows that people don't actually want to stop driving. Within the southwest, nearly half the people either agreed or strongly agreed to saying that they were willing to buy or invest in an electric car or a car that was better for the environment. Now, this is a really interesting result because and clearly reflects the idea that people don't want to stop driving, but they do care about the environment and they are willing to really change their behaviour. So this pattern was also reflected in London and the South East, where people their intention is to actually really help the environment, and if this means investing a bit more money and time into electric cars, that's what they would do. People do care about the environment. However, there is clearly a gap between being aware of it, but then actually making a difference and actively doing something and making a change. One really good thing about our results we found is that people are very aware of what's going on. And this was across all ages, actually, which was really impressive, you know, whether they're from school or whether they're the older generation. And this was good to know because actually a lot of people in the southwest, southeast, even London, do care about what's happening to the environment. What's key is what our policies can do. How can they be practical? How can they be relevant? And how can they actually allow the person to make a change? So things like cars, policies to do with the roads and things that are in their control, that is going to be the key to really making a difference.
In Bristol, the main problem that we had was kind of a lack of any public transport infrastructure, people having no alternative other than to drive, which is what's led to air quality and carbon emissions as well. I think just switching over to electric vehicles is not going to be enough. We actually need to get people out of personal vehicles entirely, get them into buses, trains and other forms of public transport, because there's just not enough room in this city. There's a debate going on in the city at the moment about having a clean air zone. If we have a clean air zone and charge people to drive into the centre of the city, how do we expect them to get into the centre of the city at all if there aren't any of these alternatives? And so we actually end up having transport as a problem, not just of environmental problems, but also inequality within our city. How do we let everyone, whether they're on the fringes or the inner parts of our city, interact with each other while stopping them from using all these polluting vehicles?
So, statistical significance reflects the risk tolerance and confidence level of your results and data. So, for example, if your significance level is 95%, this means that you're 95% confident that your data hasn't just happened by error, and it's not just random. There's a likelihood that it's likely to be true, and therefore the data is meaningful. A way you can even make this even more significant is by repeating the survey and study again. However, this may not be practical in real life, so sometimes what people do is you can do the split halves technique, which is where you take the data and you split it in 2 and you check the significance of both halves. This can be a really useful technique to use just to check how random your sample really is. So the randomness of the sample and the data collected is really key here, because if the people that have been picked or the data, the sample that has been collected is quite biased or not that random, that can really affect your significance and can kind of not make it that meaningful.